Who remembers what the word geminate means?
Twin.
Yes, twin. So Gemini are twins. So which consonants of the three are twins? Second and third. Very good. So let's go over any parsing questions about these. Anybody have any specific parsing issues they want to ask about on 39? Number 12. Okay, so number 12 we have ye ra u, right? Ye ra u. Who wants to take a stab at this? What do we see going on here?
Well, I think it's a cow. And I think that Ross actually has something to say about this one. So you had something to say about it. You had a very long note. Yes, it was very long.
Yeah?
But yeah, it's basically it's a cow, and it's a imperfect cow. You can tell that it's an imperfect because of the yod that's sitting out there.
Okay, so cal imperfect from what verbal root?
Ra'ah.
Okay, so ra-a. Okay.
So you have the cow imperfect there.
Okay, and so if I'm seeing the resh ayin, that's 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah.
Then I've got yod and shurik on the opposite sides. What's that?
So the shurd would be 3 and P.
Mm-hmm.
And the yod also indicates that it's the third masculine.
Mm-hmm.
It indicates that it's a third person at the very least.
Okay, great. Now, what does ra'a mean?
It means
To be evil. To be evil, bad. Okay, good. So we'll translate that as
they will be bad.
they will be bad. Okay, great. Now, how do you explain what we're looking at in terms of the vowel pointing?
So I found Ross's note on 286 helpful
Mm-hmm.
because he said if the verb is stated in the prefix vowels sere and the theme vowels patah.
Yes.
So,
And what's the sample verb he gives? It's, yeah, so kalal, which means to be light. Isn't there's a Superman character named is it Kal-El, right? That's Superman. Yes. Well, see, he's light-footed. Anyhow, this means to be light or slight or trifling, and the kal imperfect is ye kal. Okay, so you don't see the two root letters of lamed; they're only written once, and we have an I class, A class pattern.
and the reason that there's a commence right there is because you can't link them. You can't put a doubling dot in the ion, so you have to link them to the vowel.
Exactly.
That's why that one's a little unusual.
Yes. So the form that we would have looked at in our paradigm verb would have been ye kalu with a doubling dot there. Ye kalu. And the accent would actually be here. Ye kalu. And so this would have been ye ra'u, like that. And when you dismiss the doubling dot, you compensatorily lengthen the pathak. Okay? That's what happens there. So that's it. That's a hard one. Yes.
So when we were working on that yesterday, we were able to get the imperfect and the 3 and P, but how do you know it can't be a hifil? Since the hifil would also, I guess you know because of the prefix vowel.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You'd be looking for an A-class vowel here, right? Yeah.
It'd be
Yabol. Ya. So yareu. And you'd be getting an I-class vowel over here. Mm-hmm. So ya seu. Yareu. You would expect a sere here. Mm-hmm. All right, good. Other questions? Thank you for asking that one. That's a nasty, naughty one. Yes, number 10. Here we go. Number 10. So we have musibim. Musibim. Say that with me. Sounds like something's messy. Musibim. All right. So I have a mem over here and an eem over here. That is a dead giveaway that this is what kind of verb form? Participle. How many of your stems have participles that start with a mem prefix? Yeah, in other words, all of them, all participles start with a mem prefix except cal and nifal, the first two. Okay? So if you see a mem and an eem, you're almost guaranteed to be looking at a participle. And with the eem, it's what gender number? Masculine plural. Okay, so we've almost got it parsed just by knowing the front and back. But looking in the middle now, if the mem is part of the participle and the eem is part of the gender number, then I'm only left with two consonants in the middle, right? What about that dot? It's a doubling dot, which means I really have three consonants represented here, right? So savav. And the participle then has to be one of the participles after the nifal. Piel, puel, hifil, hofal, hithpael. So what do we do with this? Well, the most important thing to look for is the theme vowel here, right? That's an I class. Okay? My hifil participle, when it's uninflected, will have a full vowel here, but it's reduced to a vocal shavah given that I've added an ending here. Okay? But it's so that's going to obscure things for me. This Keurig, that I class vowel, is really what's going to be important to notice. So your theme vowels are critical here. Okay? So what does savav mean? To surround, to go around, turn around, and the hifil will just make that causative. You could lead someone around something, bring them around.
Basically causing something to turn.
Yeah, you could cause something to turn around an object. Yeah, and that's to be distinguished from shuv, which means to return. Like John returned to the bank. Okay, like he himself went to the bank. He went back to the bank, right? Or the hifil of shuv is to turn someone back the opposite direction. So the prophets turned back the nation, caused them to return to God, for example. All right. Well, any final questions on parsing?
I had actually for number 10 originally put PL. And I kind of was confused as to why between the hippo and the PL.
Yeah. Good. That's a great question. If it were the PL, remember we have the PL of pakad would be m, fa, kade. Okay, I'd have the vocal shavah, which you do have here, but the PL participle gets an A vowel under root 1 and always doubling in root 2. And then I'm going to be looking for a serre under it and then a third root letter. Okay? So if this were a PL, it would be m, sa, ba, or musab, bavim.
And why does the PL have an A-class vowel?
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually PLs historically always had A-class vowels under root 1. So remember in Aramaic, the PL is really a pa'el. Yes.
That's why it's like, I think it's a how do you say something?
Muraoka?
Yeah, in his grammar, he calls it a PL / a pile.
Yeah.
Figured
Yeah.
that's why.
Okay. Right. So halal is our verb that we use in this chapter for PL. So the participle would have been mahalel. Add the eem, mahalalim, and this would go to a vocal shavah. Okay, so mahalalim.
We also look at 20 real quick. So that one,
So Nashim.
Yeah, I mainly couldn't explain the doubling dot and, well, I mean, there's pretty much 2 qualifications for a bunch of different options, but none that had like all the qualifications. I think it is from Shamam, right?
Okay, so Shin, Mem, Mem.
Almost.
How many of you thought it was women? Okay. Yeah. Right. But it sure makes you think of women, doesn't it? Ross is going to get in trouble. Ross makes us think of women here. Okay. So, but how would you spell women in Hebrew? Kametz, and no dogish forte there. Na-shim. Okay. So all the same consonants, and really all the same vowel classes. So Nashim.
This is a nifal, right?
Okay. So yeah. So what are we looking at here? What do you do with that Kirik Yod in the middle here?
At first I thought it was telling us it was a hifil,
Yeah.
because the I class there in the middle. But I couldn't really explain the noon and couldn't remember why it would have shown up in a hifil.
Yeah. So what's the noon doing? Okay. So this is a prefix noon. When you have prefix noons, what are your possibilities? Okay. So 1 CP noon or nifal prefix noon, right? So which is it here?
1 CP. Perfect.
Well, if the verb is seen and you got the dogish in the first root,
I know that's why I couldn't explain dogish. But also I looked through the nifal and couldn't find anything that had the same pattern. The nifal should have ne kam, so it should have switched an I.
Nifal would rather have the Kirik and the doubling dot.
Yeah. Are you thinking of seem like the hollow verb?
No. I'm wondering why there's a doubling dot in the sheen in the middle of it.
Yeah. So why is there a doubling dot in the sheen? Come on, Kyle. What's that?
I said I thought it would be a nipple, but it's
You
not.
had a really
because
long
it's a vowel.
explanation.
So the only thing that could be left is a hifil.
See, the entry for this word in the vocab list at the end of lesson 39 indicates there's 2 forms of the hifil and perfect of Shemam. The normal geminate form is Yashem, reference Ya save, and a form which it mimics a first noon verb and the
Uh-huh.
hifil perfect.
So
Yashim is what we have here. The hifil perfect of the first noon. Nagad is similar to that.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's basically following like nua for the hollow verbs, right? Where you could use a short vowel and double root one and close the syllable, or you can leave the syllable open and not double, and it has to be the long vowel there, right? Okay. So if we take it as that, which really then is an alternate for a long A and no doubling dot here, then that noon is a prefix noon. And the Kirik Yod is marking this as a hifil stem. Okay, so hifil imperfect 1 CP from Shamam. So this is a situation where we've got geminate verb behaving similarly to a hollow verb.
Are there other verbs that behave like a 1 noon? Or is there a certain way to tell if they're going to behave like a 1 noon?
Really, you only know based on whether you actually see it in use, and then you say, "Oh, okay, this verb exhibits variable behavior." Okay, so let's look at number 6 here. Number 6. Why don't you say this with me? Yimarer. Yimarer. So, what do you see? Do you see 3 root letters?
Yes.
Oh, isn't that nice? So sometimes we actually do get to see the root letters we're looking for, right? 1, 2, 3. Marar? Does that mean anything? Okay, to be bitter. To be bitter. And we have a yod prefix here, don't we? So what does that tell us? All right, so good candidate for being an imperfect. Could be jussive just as well. And with the yod prefix, no suffix, this is 3ms. Okay, here's the question. What stem are we looking at here? P, L? How do you know that?
Because the PL is the only one that, the PL and Pual always have a vocal shiva.
Okay, so PL and Puals get the vocal shiva here. How can you tell whether it's PL or Pual then? Yeah, you look at these next vowels. Okay, what would the Pual's vowel be here under the MAME? It would be a kibbutz, right? Yamu, yamurar, yumurar. Okay, like pakad becomes yafukad. Okay, if you look at your principal parts page, you would see that kind of vowel pointing. But here we have the a pattern. That is PL, not Pual. So very good. So it's a PL imperfect or jussive, and 3ms.
Just a little question on that. Since the PL, because of the resh, has the thought lengthened, is the kibbutz also lengthened in the Pual?
Yes, exactly. That's a very good point. So the pathak is normally the PL vowel pointing under root 1 in the imperfect, and the Pual is normally kibbutz, but with that resh there, we want to see a doubling dot. That's one of our diagnostic features of the PL and Pual is doubling in root 2. Resh rejects it, and that causes compensatory lengthening. So that's why that's a kametz and not a pathak. It goes from a short A to a long A. What would the kibbutz become due to compensatory lengthening if we had to lengthen it? No. It would become holum. Holum. Remember, in our chart, we're bumping one step up. So the vowel under root 1 is a tone short A and U for PL and Pual. They become tone long A and U. Tone long A is kametz, not kamete, right? And the tone long U class is holum. So that's what it becomes. All right, very good. So thankfully, with these geminate verbs, when they follow a PL Pual pattern, they're easy to detect for the most part. If you remember what Naomi says to Ruth when she returns, don't call me Naomi, which means pleasant. Call me Mara, which is related to this verbal root, which means bitter. That's right. That's right. The adjective mar looks like this. Okay, that's a masculine singular adjective. There is an implied doubling dot here. When you add the kamete for the feminine singular of mar, for bitter, there should have been a dagesh forte that drops in. If you remember, monosyllabic words with a changeable vowel have a dagesh forte that is being carried around by these black Hebrew helicopters. Remember that? They want to drop that dagesh forte in. Now the resh is going to say, no way, Jose. And so the pathak is going to lengthen compensatorily. And so when you see Mara in the book of Ruth, those of you that are doing the second class, that's what you're gonna see here. That's her name, Mara. Or that's what she calls herself. All right. Now in the cow, marar is to be bitter, and its sense in the PL here, according to our vocab, is to show bitterness. All right. Other questions? Let's look at number 3. Say this with me. Sobu et ha'ir. All right. So, what's et ha'ir? That would be el ha'ir, right? Et ha'ir is just It's just the city. Yeah, if that's a direct object marker. Okay. And
They're just saying to surround the city. It's command.
yeah, yeah. So we don't want to translate the et here, do we? Since it's just marking the direct object of that verb. So we'll now dispense with this. We want to focus on sobu. Sobu. How many root letters do I see?
Well, you see 3 actually.
You see 3? You have a electron microscope? That Hebrew microscope?
You actually see because of the doubling dot
Yeah.
inside there. So
Mm-hmm. So I technically only see 2 consonants, but the doubling dot represents another bet, right? Okay, good. Is that a vocab word we know? Absolutely, and it means to surround. Good. Now, look at the form here. It's sobu. Sobu with a, what class vowel is that? That's U class, right? Remember, we have 3 vowel classes in Hebrew, A, I, and U. And this is the U class. Which stem features U class vowels like this when we collapse our 2-syllable kind of verbal core into 1 syllable? Yeah, the cal does that. Okay, this is a characteristic feature of the cal. Which form of the cal is this? If this is the cal, there's no prefixing, so could it be the imperfect or jussive or cohortative or anything like that? No, so where do we see cals with no prefixing at all? Imperative. What else? The infinitives. And where else does the cal not have any prefixing? The perfect. So, and the participles. Okay. Now, for Savav, what did you learn the typical cal perfect form is? There's actually 2 possibilities. Savav could be Savav, right? That's one. Or when you collapse it to 1 syllable, what is it? Sav. Sav. Just with the A class vowel. Like the typical theme vowel of a regular cal perfect, right? Pakad has a A vowel. Pakad. So this just basically borrows that theme vowel from the cal perfect. But there's only 1 syllable. So this is U class, though, not A class. So this is not the cal perfect, is it? What would the cal participle look like for Savav? Sovev. In other words, it's normal looking for its cal participle form. Sovev. Good. Good. What else did we say? The imperative. How do you form the imperative? That's right. You make it a prefix form like the imperfect, and you chop off the prefix. What's the imperfect of the cal imperfect of Savav? It's, yes, Yasov. Yasov. So if we chop off that Ya, we're left with Sov. We definitely have the right theme vowel, don't we? And the fact that I've got a shurik here is going to actually confirm for me that we're dealing with a finite form like an infinite, like an imperative. And if it's an imperative with a shurik on the backside, which person gender number is that? That'll be 2 MP because imperative is second person. Okay, great, great. Now, what's the infinitive construct going to look like with Savav? It's Sov. That's right. So that would have the same U class vowel, but could you make sense of a shurik hanging on the back end of an infinitive construct? No. What can go on the end of an infinitive construct? Pronominal suffixes. And there aren't any just shurik pronominal suffixes. So this just wouldn't make sense as an infinitive construct. Okay? So anyhow, so this is it. So what are we commanding? Surround. Surround et ha'ir, the city. All right. There you
it could
go.
also mean go around the city, though, right?
Yes. It could mean that too.
Go around.
Anybody else?
Did we cover 20 last time? I feel like we did.
We did it.
We did?
Yeah.
But was it this period or was it the next?
It was this one.
Okay, then we're good.
Yeah. So remember, this was shamam, and what happens is, well, here we've got a noon prefix representing the first common plural, but we've got a situation where the gemination, or the doubling, instead of happening with a mem over here, it ends up doubling the root 1 consonant and closing the syllable. Therefore, there's no long A, but a short A. So, yeah. Yeah. And he does have a comment about this on page 292, how shamam has two possible forms here for the hifil imperfect. Okay. Anything else? Let me just ask you to compare 11 and 7 with each other real quickly. With 11, we have sabotum, or sabotum. Sabotum. Can you guess what the verbal root is? Savav. Okay, so that's good. We can identify that. You only see the samik and the beit, right? But there's a doubling dot. What's that holam vav for? That's a helping vowel. Okay, good. And or a connecting vowel, some would call it that. And then we have 2 with a mem at the end. What in the world is this 2 doing here? What is that? Okay, yes, this is the tem or ten perfect personal ending that has modified in order to add a pronominal suffix. I know this is really stretching the gray matter, but back in chapter 24, we learned that there are a few places where we get some changes to the perfect personal endings before we can add a direct object pronoun. And this is one. Tem and ten become 2, then you add your pronoun to it, okay? So, which stem is this for a perfect we'll call it 2CP, plus what pronoun is the mem? It's 3MP, okay? So is that looking like a cow? Is that a cow perfect form? Yeah? If it were the nifal, it would have a noon in the noon nifal perfect. If it were a hifal or a hofal, it would have a hey prefix for its perfect. PL and pual, do those get prefixes in the perfect? No, but they do have a distinctive vowel under root 1, don't they? And that would be the PL. PL has I class vowel under the PL perfect root 1, right? PL. And pual gets U class vowel, okay? So we have 3 different vowel classes, A, I, and U, and each stem gets its particular vowel class, okay? So there you go.
Could you go over one more time why that goes to a 2? Because I found that in chapter 24, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just explain it? Because I don't know if Ross was especially clear in my head about why that was.
Yeah, he didn't really tell you why 10 and 10 become 2.
Yeah.
He just tells you that it does.
This is why, but now I don't know, I'm just kind of well, I don't really know.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and I honestly, I don't know why that form's chosen. I mean, the form before you modify it ends with mem and noon, which are consonants, right? This is a closed syllable, not an open one. When you go to 2, you're left with a vowel at the end, and it's a lot easier to add pronominal suffixes to a vowel. So perhaps that's the idea.
Could the shirk also kind of clue us into plural, since the 3M is just the shirk and the one CP is new?
Yeah. So 1 CP would have nu instead of 2, and the 3 CP would be sabu. Yes, or savavum. So my guess is that if you added a pronoun, that it probably would have used a longer form. But okay, great. Now let's just contrast that real quickly to 7. For the moment, let's forget this vav, okay? I just want you to look at nusabotha. This is very close to sabothum. Do you see what's similar? The holem vav after the doubled bet. All right? But I have ta instead of tu. So which form is this with that ta? Yeah, that's perfect 2ms, right? But now look, I've got a noon prefix. So what am I looking at if this is the perfect and I have a noon in front of root 1? It's got to be nifal, right? Okay, so it's nifal perfect 2ms. Just looking at this form with nothing in front of it. Okay, now we have a vav here, don't we? And so the assumption here is that this is not just a nifal perfect, but a WCP form. Okay. And then Ross would call this a nifal perfect plus vav consecutive, right? Isn't that his term?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyhow, yeah, I call it WCP or Vukatal. Yeah.
So what happened to our Dagesh in root 1?
The Dagesh in root 1. Right here.
Number 7?
Yeah. Well, Savav doesn't have a Dagesh in root 1, right? Its roots 2 and 3 are doubled, so we do have the Dagesh in the bet.
Oh, are you thinking about the ni?
No, I'm thinking about that the Nifal takes a Dagesh in root 1.
In the imperfect, because the
Yeah.
noon is
I'm
That's
sorry,
if the
I
noon
couldn't
is
hear you.
present, not the decision.
She's talking about the imperfect. Like
Yeah.
the
Oh,
application.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The Nifal perfect form is normally for Savav, Na, Sav, like this. Okay, so normally it's open and long when I have stress on the next syllable, Na, Sav. But when I add syllables, due to the inflectional endings, this is going to reduce to the vocal Shiva. All right, but there is no Dagesh forte in the Nifal perfect of Savav. In the imperfect Nifal, there will be. So, Yesav. So, number 19. Okay. Oh, so you got it wrong. You're not sure what the question is, though, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Let's take a look here. So we have Heikalu. Heikalu. How many consonants do we see here? Well, literally, we should see 3, right? Are those your 3 root letters? Hey, Kof, Lamed? I mean, theoretically they could be, right? But if the Hey's a prefix, then where does root 1 start? Yeah, with the Kof. So let's consider that for a moment here. If that's a prefix Hey, then Kof, Lamed, root 1 and 2. Where's root 3? Yeah, it's also the Lamed because this Lamed has a Dagesh forte, so that's a doubled Lamed, isn't it? So my lexical form would appear to be Kalal. And if that's the case, then the Hey must be a prefix Hey for one of the stems. Okay, does that make sense? All right, now with that in mind, I have a shurik at the end. That's a personal ending. Where do I find shurik as a personal ending anywhere in my conjugation patterns? If you go to the inflectional boxes handout, where do you see shuriks? Perfect what? 3 CPs or imperatives, 2 MP. And then if it were an imperfect, it could be a couple of things, but there aren't any nutty prefixes before this, so I can eliminate the imperfect possibilities, right? Okay, great. So the question I need to ask myself is, which stems have the hey prefix, and where do I get what vowel class is the sere here? It's an I-class vowel. So where am I looking for I-class vowels under hey? Which stem never gets I-class vowels under their hey? Hofals. Hofals have heys, but never I-class under them. Okay? So this is either, which other two stems can get a hey prefix as part of their stem? Nifals and hifils. And notice ni, hi, those can take I-class vowels, can't they? All right. When my nifal has an I-class vowel, has a hey prefix, what am I expecting to see with its vowel pointing? Okay, yeah, so we can see dagesh forte. We could have I-class, but a dagesh forte where? In the first root letter. This has an I-class, but no dagesh forte. So which of the stems does that in the geminate verbs? This is the hifil, okay? If it's hifil, then the next question is, which of these two possibilities is going to have the hifil having an I-class vowel there?
I put perfect 3CP. That was wrong. So maybe it's the imperative. Maybe the perfect.
What's that?
The perfect. You get the I-class.
Yeah, the perfect would get an I-class here, right? So hifil perfect 3CP? Yeah. So did I not have that in my answer key? What did I do? My answer key might be mistaken. Let's see. What number was this? Number 19. I put Cal Perfect 3CP. Maybe you were looking there. Okay. And I have a note here. Let me just make sure there's nothing here that I need to know. Yeah, there it is. So this form occurs in Ezekiel 22:7. Okay. You are making me nervous. So there we go. So we're not going with the imperative here. All right, this is the hifil perfect 3CP. Okay, good. What does kalal mean? Yeah. Exactly. To minimize, make light of, to treat as insignificant. That sort of idea. To basically treat contemptuously. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the hifil of this one where it says don't treat lightly the Lord's discipline. So you should go back and take a look at that sometime. All right. Other questions?
So when you look in the, on 554,
554.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Back in the paradigms?
Definite verbs, yeah, in the paradigm, it has a setting for that 3CP. Where am I? And that he feel.
Yeah, so you're looking here.
Yeah, and we've got a hot dog.
Yeah, if you look at the where did it go?
the way. You know,
Actually, he doesn't give you any of the HIFIL forms in your vocab.
yeah, so I mean, that's the closest one, but,
Right.
yeah, didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in my footnote here, I note here this is a little bit unusual in that the HIFIL perfect form shows alternation of the theme vowel between the expected I class of the HIFIL, which is what you're saying, the serre is what you would have expected, and the unexpected A class. So kalal occurs 3 times in the HIFIL perfect. Twice the theme vowel is A class, heikal and heikalu. Once it's I class, hekilothani. Here it has a pronominal suffix, reduction of the vowel pointing, but there's a kirik here which represents an I class vowel before that lamed. So we do see both. It only happens 3 times in the perfect conjugation, so we don't really have a lot to go on there. All right. Other questions?